was saying it's very much like fishing, you know. At one point you get hooked, and then you want to run away, and you don't want to be reeled in. And God has a way of reeling you in slowly, giving you some more space, so you don't break the thread, the connection, yeah? But somehow you have to have some space to fight it. If I were to check out how much fighting was going on inside of me, you know, and how I had to learn. There was one point at which Howard Thurman asked me this question, don't you trust the Ruach HaKodesh, don't you trust the Holy Spirit? He said it in Hebrew. You hear this black teacher says to me in Hebrew, don't you trust the Ruach HaKodesh? Well, it shook me very, very strong. But then, what are you going to say? You're not going to trust, you know? Who else are you going to trust? So it takes a very deep kind of thing. And this is what each time the line pulls you in a little bit more and more and more. Finally, there comes the net and fishes you. Well, that's how I feel the process goes.
Well, you know, there's a sermon by Eckhart on that subject. It's called Hooked by Divine Love. And the idea is that once you swallow it, you can never get away, no matter how hard you swim in the opposite direction. It's, you're a goner, it's just a matter of time. And the divine fisherman keeps, as you said, reeling you in until you have to surrender. But in regard to spiritual guidance, as you say, there's a lot of basic material you need to know, but a lot of that is available now in books.
Yes.
You know, so it's not as if we were in a pre-Gutenberg Bible era where the spiritual guide would have to give you the whole tradition, you know, and the very fundamentals. So it seems to me the emphasis has moved a little bit to listening, deep listening as to what the Spirit is saying to this church, you might say, that is this particular person.
Imagine if I want
what fundamentals, for instance, or what book to read?
Well, first I want to go to beyond the book. If I want to learn, I remember the time I was sitting with Father Basil, and being quiet and doing like Vipassana and all that wasn't quite the prayer of the heart. And the vibration, by tuning into what he was doing, I was able to do it myself. And my sense is that that besides the books, you have to have a mentor who is tuned in. When then an attunement happens, and everything in the book starts making sense. And without the attunement, the book is very wooden, doesn't help much.
Very, very true. At the same time, sometimes if the spiritual guide doesn't have that particular charism or inner experience, then you can sit with as much as you like and nothing's going to happen from that source. So that's why everything really depends not just on training, because lots of people can get a degree, but on the experience of a practice that one has interiorized over years and years, so that you really know how to listen and are willing to hear what the guide is trying to say, or more particularly what the Spirit is saying.
So the question that's being before us is, to what extent is listening a core metaphor for spiritual practice?
Oh, it's definitely a core metaphor. Maybe it's not the only one or the major one, but at a certain level, all of the core symbols or words tend to merge into one, like deep listening is really silence. So I noticed that in the Hebrew Bible, whenever God has anything to say, it always starts out, "Hear, O Israel." And this is not an invitation just to listen with the ears. I mean, he wants to have people listen with the heart and one's inmost being. And or with that mouth-to-mouth exchange that is the ultimate listening is total receptivity.